Welcome, beautiful people on the blockchain island Malta. I'm here with Dave Pulis. Dave, how are you doing?
Very good, thank you.
It's August. It's hot. We have the pleasure here standing in the sun. How's the weather in the past? How will the weather be in the next 3 weeks?
I guess it's going to be Maltese forecast, which is sunny, with a pinch of UV as well.
Do people pay tax for the sun in Malta?
I think people get rewarded for the sun because we get so many good companies coming to invest here.
Okay, tell us a little bit about your background, what you're working on at the moment, what projects.
Sure. So my background is in finance and crypto. I've been in crypto for almost 5.5 years. Back in May 2013, I can recall when it started.
So then the famous question is, of course, how many Bitcoin do you have? But you don't ask this question. So maybe how many Bitcoin have you given to charity yet?
I actually am a believer in Ripple as well. So although it's not a means of holding wealth associated normally, I believe in the project. So I hold a bit of Ripple. And normally we do donations, but we just do them in normal fiat currencies because not everyone accepts normally cryptocurrencies for the right donations.
Okay. So back to your projects, what's going on in Malta with you?
This year and a half has been incredible in Malta. I have never expected to receive so many queries for projects here. The biggest project, of course, is I would say ZB.com. It's planning to do European operations. It was formerly known as China BTC, which most people remember it over here. And then when the regulatory infrastructure changed in China, they decided to move elsewhere after the clampdowns, and they changed the name. So it's basically ZB.com now also wants to do European operations. They've seen that Malta has a proper regulatory infrastructure, which exists no other place in the world. And we have put a dream team together, which includes the people from ZB.com, the people from EXX.com, which is another top exchange, not top 5, but still one of the big ones. The people who support the backend, Zillion Bits, who do all the backend, and they haven't been hacked either exchanges since inception, which is pretty incredible. We're talking about both large hacks that get known out there and even small ones. Right. So they've, I would say, bulletproof up till now.
Interesting. Maybe to give an introduction first. So can you maybe, for somebody who is just getting a first picture of Malta as a jurisdiction, what has happened in terms of regulation here in Malta?
So I don't want to be boring, but Malta has, about 20 years ago, went into finance, regulated the industry, and attracted a lot of key players to the industry. When this government got elected, it took a decision that instead of reaping the rewards of what has happened in the past, go into the grey area and legitimize it. Mm-hmm. As you know, there's been a lot of illegitimate players in the industry. The government has taken it upon itself to do a proper regulatory infrastructure. And in fact, in October, we're going to see the MDIA come into force with the VFA as well.
Which is part of these bills, of these?
Correct. It's the Virtual Financial Assets Act, which is enabling players like us, with regards to the exchange, to come to Malta, and also other ICOs to come here and legitimize their business further by having what we are calling, which is not official term, an ISO for the crypto industry.
And that is one very important part of an exchange's business operation, right? A legal jurisdiction. How's this moving at the moment? I mean, some are moving out of China. Can you give an overview over the industry?
Of course. A quick overview. I can separate it into three to make it very simple for the layman to understand. Before, there was a situation where exchanges would set up in a country, they wouldn't know what's happening, and they say, okay, let's operate until we get shut down. And then you'll see a lot of movement. Then there was like the second stage where countries were saying, smaller countries especially, were saying, come and operate in our jurisdiction, we will not block you. And now there's this third stage, which I think Malta is the only real player, where instead of just saying, come and operate in our jurisdiction, we're saying, come and operate in our jurisdiction, which effectively regulates your industry. And I think Malta is the leader right now and we're going to have a first mover advantage. So everyone is moving here.
Hype? Is it a hype, a bubble, or is it really disruptive innovation that's going to change a whole industry forever?
We're working with various projects and under Euromed Capital to attract to Malta. One of them was also ZB.com, which locally will be called ZBX because it's a separate operation. We're working also on other industries like clean technologies, which will be announced very soon, their official name. There's so many other industries that are moving here. So we're not just talking about crypto, we're talking about the underlying pinning technology that legitimizes the businesses. If you're talking about, for example, cannabis, you can do track and trace, so you can know where your product is coming from. I'm mentioning cannabis because, of course, Malta has also moved in that industry as well.
So you believe there are a lot of projects that will stay, or would you say no? There's a lot of stuff that's going on that is maybe not yet. It's not the right time yet. There's too much hype about it. Which part would you say is the one that's gonna stay?
I believe it's not even a question of what businesses will stay. I believe the first mover that adopts blockchain technology can get more of the industry. So I believe the companies that will not stay are the ones that will not adopt blockchain. So blockchain is there to stay.
You are pretty close to the companies that move here. Can you maybe talk a little bit about your insights of their mentality, what they're looking for, how they conduct their business? Maybe there's something interesting that you know.
From experience dealing with quite a few companies that we actively get involved in, we structure the companies, we create the existence here, we connect them with the right business partners. They stumble upon blockchain by accident, almost most of them, unless it's an exchange, of course, which is core business. And what we try to do is we try to explain all the benefits that are inherent with blockchain, and then we also explain how to go about it with the Maltese legislation. Of course, I'm not a lawyer, so we network with the best people in the industries. Malta has some of the best lawyers, the best technical persons as well are moving here. So we're calling Malta a center of excellence for most of the industries that we get involved with.
Back to the exchanges, because the exchanges are the current main business model in the blockchain space, I would argue. You mentioned that they have to move, the government may crack down. Now you also said you're a believer in Ripple. What do you predict, or how do you see the future? Will it be a synergy of a regulation, government, and the established banks? Or, if we look into the history of Bitcoin, we clearly see, okay, that's something that is by nature unregulated and comes out of this internet movement. So will there be more disruption that's challenging the authority? Because people, in the end, the internet also, they were very wary that people will use it for bad activities, and now everybody just shares family pictures and cat pictures, and it's the same with Bitcoin, right? In the beginning it was really some deep web activities, and now it's mainly people just want to invest in it and pay for tuition, buy a car, even car dealership here in Malta. What do you think? Will this be a synergy, or will this be more tension?
Well, of course, Bitcoin and all other cryptocurrencies can be used for legitimate activity. That's why regulation is important, and we are a fervent promoter of proper regulation. With regards to, I cannot mention specific cases, but for example, Ripple is always competing with other different payment providers out there. But if we take the current legislation right now, or the current framework that we have to operate with, where if I have to send you a dollar transfer, you have to wait normally 2 days, even if it's Malta to Malta, because it has to go through our corresponding banks. It costs money. They ask you to get a SWIFT, which is a private company, by the way, message to make sure that the money has been initiated, because it takes so long. All of these, we call them friction between A and Z, can be eliminated or can be made less onerous. So that is why I believe the technology is there to stay. And which technology comes and stays, we're not sure, because at the end of the day, it's a competitive market out there. So no one can actually tell you, not me, not the CEO of Ripple or any other guys, which ones are there to stay. The ones that are more competitive usually win.
Okay. Do you have any news about setting up a bank account in Malta?
I can safely say that there's a lot of things happening and will be announced in the coming months that will change the whole banking industry upside down. But since things are set in motion, being set in motion, we cannot officially speak, but it's going to be much easier for ICOs, crypto exchanges, people doing business in the industry to have proper banking infrastructures.
Sounds interesting. About ZB Exchange, what are the key things to look at when you sign up on an exchange? We remember, in the early beginning of Bitcoin exchanges, there were a lot of hacks. People lost a lot of money because this happens, of course. How can people trust an exchange? What do you think is important?
I can speak about what ZB has done. Of course, ZBX is a totally different exchange, going to be in Malta, but of course we can speak on behalf of ZB.com. And if you go on their website, although it's top 5 exchange by daily traded volume, it is very selective on the type of coins that it lists on its platform. So they are not chasing volumes for the sake of profits, but they allow actually their users to vote which coins get listed on their platform. So I believe that's a very good model which we in Malta under ZBX might give to our clients. We still have to determine what the direction we go, but the ultimate aim is always to give power to the users and give them the choice about what to list, because of course there's listing fees that get involved. Some of them runs into the millions, so it's easy to say, hey, let's list all the coins as much as possible to kick our profits, up to the roof. But I think that's a very short-sighted way of doing business. So I think the ZB model, where it values quality over quantity, it's the way to go.
Okay, awesome. It's very hot, so we probably have end the interview. I have a few side questions, which is you can answer them all in a row.
Sure.
How do you get through the traffic? What's your mobility hack in Malta? What is your favorite spot to calm down when the stress is taking over in the fastest growing GDP economy in Europe, and like now with this, it's just super busy, right? Like what do you do in terms of getting relaxation, and then where do you go eat and pay with crypto if you want to? And I think those are good questions.
Well, with regards to I'm an economist by nature as well, so whenever you find a lot of investment coming into a very, very small country, you're always going to find problems associated with it, either be it housing problems. If you're living in this area, of course prices are being jacked up, which is the law of demand and supply. However, what I can say is that the government is investing very heavily on the infrastructure. So of course there's going to be some time by the time the infrastructure catches up, but I think it's a small price to pay. With regards to relaxing, it's very hectic in Malta. So normally I'd like to relax either by the pool, because sometimes even the beaches are so crowded that it's a bit hard to relax without lots of finding your towel on the sand can be a feat as well, depending where you go. So most of the time I'd like to relax with family, friends, by the pool, light up the barbecue. Very simple. And with regards to the last question, where do I pay with Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies in Malta? It's a bit limited, unfortunately. So I think going forward, there's been some initiatives like the crypto ATMs, which can make it easier to exchange money for everyone in the streets, which are very encouraging. But I think going forward, more businesses will start to accept crypto, even if there's going to be a bank in between to legitimize it. I think Malta would be probably the ideal case scenario to adopt it on a large scale. So Malta can be probably the test bed, as we're doing with other businesses with regards to what we spoke before.
Awesome. Thank you, David, for the interview. It was a pleasure. I say thank you for watching. Buy Bitcoin, be free, no financial advice, and see you in the next video. Bye-bye. Thanks.
How do you think?
Very good. Awesome.
Not too boring?
No.